Hey guys, Dan Heilman back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about the upcoming week. I am really bullish. I mean, the price can't go down forever, right? There's a lot of changes going on in the market. I also want to talk about Bitcoin dominance because something very important is happening there. And we're going to look at some altcoins that are beaten down, which I think are going to be some good investments to hold long term. So let's begin. All right, let's go back to Bitcoin. What do we got going on? So we've been going down since January 20th. When Trump came into office. So, of course, I heard a lot of people say, oh, January 20th, we'll probably see a sell off. I did not expect any sell off like this, and I don't think anyone did. We are down 30% officially on Bitcoin, and the low has still been on 311. So, I personally think the low is already in. A lot of the indicators I'm using the Camel Finance trading indicator, and it says we should have a weekly low very soon. I still don't believe that the weekly low is going to be lower than this. Of course, we could potentially retest some lows, but it seems like we have been moving in the correct direction. We're in this kind of ascending channel, which unfortunately usually do break down, but that doesn't mean it's over. Just because you break down out of here, we could just come down here, retest this 78 again, and then blast off, which would give us kind of a head and shoulders pattern. We could do a lot of different things, right? No point in really predicting because I'm sure I'll be wrong here, but we got some important Fed news coming in next week. And we have the end of March coming in next week. So we'll see what happens here. If we look at this, so 326, we have durable goods. So this is just, what people are buying. GDP growth rate, which is a pretty important one. And then core PCE, personal spending and personal income. So we have some data coming in next week. Now, I think the market is kind of just waiting for maybe some potential new news or some things like that. But let's look at Bitcoin dominance because it's actually quite interesting. So if we look at the daily for Bitcoin dominance, this is basically the percentage of market cap that is Bitcoin versus all the other cryptocurrencies. So if you have a lot of altcoins, you want this number to go down. If you are a Bitcoin maxi, you want this number to go up. But when this number goes up, that does not necessarily mean that altcoins are going down. It could just be Bitcoin is going up faster. So, but it's really interesting because usually when you have rising wedges like this, they usually break to the downside. That's just usually what happens here. And now if we go on the hourly, it's quite interesting as well because you can see we actually pulled out of here. We came back up inside and we have not been able to stay in. And now we actually retested it, rejected perfectly off the line and are coming back down in the last 2 hours. Now, this does not mean that, alt season is fully started and, there's going to be no downs for altcoins. Of course, it does not mean that, but this could be, if this continues to break down, the beginning of an altcoin season. And since Jerome Powell did say that they are reducing quantitative tightening, that means that usually more money is going to be coming into the markets. Now, a lot of other countries have already ended quantitative tightening and have moved towards quantitative easing. Now, Jerome Powell did say in America that quantitative tightening is reducing, right? Didn't mean that's ended. He said April 1st, basically, they're going to start reducing the balance. So it's interesting. We'll see what happens here. This could be a very good signal. I was kind of just looking back at other times to see if I could find another rising wedge pattern, something like this. There is one that's kind of here now. To be fair, it's kind of messy. You could draw it this way, and we've kind of, if you kind of just draw it from here, it kind of makes a little more sense, but there's kind of a rising wedge, but not really. You could, I guess, draw it this way as well. So you could draw it this way, which maybe makes a little bit more sense. Kind of similar. And we did kind of do the same thing where we basically pulled out of it right here. Did that just take me all the way back to that? Sure did. All right, let's go. Can I even go back this far? Let's see here. That would take way too long. Okay, never mind. I guess we don't want to show it that way because it won't let me. But yeah, that's what we got going on here. So basically, it looks like we did kind of a similar thing where we came out of here, we broke down, we retested, and then we kind of just went straight. Now, this is a long time, right? This is days, right? So this is, 2 months of sideways after we broke out of here. But then, boom. honestly, that might be a good target, 1 to 2 months, because, if we have quantitative tighten ending and getting into quantitative easing, we might need a couple more months to get us into this area. So what might happen is we could potentially come out of here, get back into this channel, and then maybe just kind of go straight for a while, maybe another month or two, and then drop off, and then officially start alt season. Again, alt season is this mythical thing that usually happens once every 4 years for a couple of months. It does sometimes happen more often than that. And sometimes you have little mini alt seasons. Let's pull up the alt season indicator. So I'll go into the cryptoverse and we'll just kind of take a look at it, because it's definitely interesting. And we'll see kind of where we're at. We're definitely not in an altcoin season currently. I will show you. Let's go. So altcoin season index, here we are. Here is the price of Bitcoin, and then here is the altcoin season index. So you can see every couple of years we get up into this area, which is the altcoin season up here in the top, and we usually stay there for, max 3 months, right? So it's not a lot. You can see here it's kind of March to June, about 3 months. This one looks like about 2 months. August, September. So you can see it doesn't stay in there very long, but we're actually kind of leaving Bitcoin season. So if we look at the last, year-ish, you can see we've spent a lot of time in Bitcoin season, meaning Bitcoin is getting a lot more gains. Basically what this indicator just says is how many altcoins are above the gains of Bitcoin, right? That's kind of what it's saying here. You can see that right now Bitcoin is at a negative 10%, but there's only, 10 coins above that, XRP, Monero, a bunch of random tokens I've never even heard of. And again, this is 90 days. This is 90 days. So this is 3 months. So yeah, you can see we're actually finally out of Bitcoin season, because some altcoins are starting to perform a little bit over the last couple of days. And if we get up here, you can see we did kind of have one in December where alts did quite well. And then the last kind of time we had something, it was, even in March, we were a little bit closer to an altcoin season. We had some decent performance of altcoins in the beginning of last year, and you can see all the way back in 23. So we technically, in the last almost a year or two, we've only been in altcoin season for technically literally a month, not even a month, a couple weeks. So kind of interesting when you look at this, but we'll see what happens here. Now let's talk about some altcoins real quick that I think are pretty good investment opportunities at the moment. Now, the first thing, I see an interesting pattern on H-bar, which is also a wedge like this. Okay. So if we look at the daily chart on H-bar has just been bleeding for some reason. It's, a large coin. It's ISO certified, meaning I believe that banks, can use it easier. It can be used for payment transfers. It's very similar to stuff like XRP. It's also American made, so if anything with taxes happens, I'm just kind of surprised to see H-bar so low right now. So I think H-bar would be a really good long-term hold. I mean, even if it only goes back to this most recent high, you're looking at 120% gains from right now. So I think it's a great buy at 18 cents. It'll at least hit 40 cents, if not $1, if we get a big market. You can see if we go to maybe the weekly here. I'm on Coinbase, so there's not a lot of data. It only goes back to 2022. I should probably use a different chart, but I don't know. Chart looks pretty good. I mean, look at this from November 5th right here. Boom, 800%. So quite a big gain. There's a couple other coins that are pretty beat down. Litecoin especially is very beat down. If you look at Litecoin, we're down on this support zone that we've been multiple times, but every other time we've hit this support zone, we've gone up at least 60%. So I think Litecoin would be a good one. This is another competitor for Bitcoin, right? It's a good store of value. It has 84 million max tokens, kind of similar to Bitcoin, which has 21, right? So you would expect it to be kind of a fourth of the value of Bitcoin, ideally, eventually, if it gets adoption, right? Bitcoin obviously has a huge adoption curve behind it, right? A lot of people believe in Bitcoin, and maybe one day Litecoin will be the same. It is the most used currency for transfers. It is the most used. It's dirt cheap. It's extremely quick, and it holds its value pretty well. So because of the max supply, right? So that one's a good one. Even Solana is so beat down. I mean, look at this. It's down 61%. It would see a nice 125% gain going back up to the top. Sui is another one that's beaten down that has some really nice moves. This one, again, is down 60%. and another 140% to get back to the top. BNB has kind of just been hanging out, just hanging out. And of course, Ethereum. Ethereum is just super beaten down. I mean, from the top of the most recent market, we're down 56%, which is pretty big for such a big coin, right? It's a little bit messy here. Sorry, I got a lot of lines and everything here, but you can see, I guess I can show it here. That's okay. You guys probably don't mind that, right? ENS, another one that is massively beat down, and I think we'll see a really big move, 180%. But I mean, if you go back to even, a little bit back in 2021, I think we'll see ENS go to at least $80 if we get a full-blown alt season and it performs similar to other alt seasons. So I think ENS is another one. Now, I do have a lot of these open on leverage right now. So if you want to try out leverage trading, feel free to use the link below. It gives you a nice, huge discount on fees. I have an AAVE trade, an ETH trade, an ENS trade, a DOT trade, HBAR, which is down a lot, but I really think HBAR is going to see a very large rally sometime soon. NEO, TRX, I have a pretty big SUI trade open. I should have just closed this when I was in the profit. This one just kind of bleeds. Melania. I have a Litecoin and a Bitcoin trade, which are down because I've had them open for quite some time. And obviously in the market, we've been going down for quite some time. So if you do want to try it out, try out Bitunix. It's in a great exchange if you want to try out leverage trading. Just be very careful. Leverage is dangerous. You can liquidate your whole account if you're not careful. Make sure to use low leverage and very, very small percent of your portfolio. Okay. Another thing I do have open is some stock trades. So I have a MicroStrategy trade. I have a SPX 500, the S&P 500 open. I have some mining stocks, some crypto stocks, and I have silver open. I was really big in the profit on Mara and silver. They're pulling back a little bit, which is totally fine. But if you do want to try out BTCC, I have a link for them as well. You can trade some stocks on here, which is kind of cool because you can use USDT, you can use Tether to trade. It's kind of cool. I've just been messing around with it. These were, beat down quite hard. So I've been using Camel Finance's little indicator as well to kind of help me with some trades here, right? So it said that you can see the S&P 500. It says it's at a daily low, and it says the weekly low will be very soon. And then if I go to like MSTR, for example, you can see it also printed a daily low indicator, meaning that's a pretty good entry. I entered a little bit high, which is probably a mistake, but I have my stop losses set. So if it happens, it happens. Another interesting thing is that the Solana ETF got approved. This didn't get a lot of news, but it's actually been open for 2 days last week. The third day will be Monday. As you can see, usually when ETFs open, usually the price starts quite high and then the price comes down. I guess that's only 4%, so it's not a huge deal. But yeah, so I got a trade open on Coinbase. As I said, you can see my stop loss in purple. You could even enter right now, no problem. That's about where I entered. Mara is another one that's been beaten down. You can see my stop loss down here. I was up like 60, 70%, and then it pulled back down, and it looks like it just did a double bottom. So I'm expecting this to pump, especially if we get a pump on Bitcoin. Obviously, a lot of these are just kind of tied to Bitcoin, but here's another one, CLSK. This one is bleeding down again, but it made a higher low, not a lower high. So that's important there. There's a bunch of other good ones. Now, if you want to trade Tesla, it looks like this one has bottomed as well. So kind of interesting, but that's kind of what we got going on in the market today. I think we have a huge week. I have not been posting as much just because I've been so crazy busy moving. I just finally got the keys to my new house. Well, sorry, I will get them Wednesday. I'm pretty excited for that. I have been doing crazy about moving to the point where I can't even hardly get out of bed in the morning. I'm not used to doing this much physical labor. Just packing and moving and picking up a bunch of heavy stuff, literally like almost 12 hours a day. So it's been pretty insane. So yeah, it's been, difficult for me to get out of the bed in the morning just because it's been so much manual labor. But anyways, that's what we got going on. Oh, while I'm here, GME potentially might buy Bitcoin. That might be an interesting play if that happens. Mining stocks are starting to move up a little bit as well. You can see a big pump here in this one of 600%. It's funny because, of course, I sold it. When did I sell it? I think I sold it in December. Yeah, I think I sold it literally right here. Oh my God. I think I sold it in December and then it went up 600 right after I sell it. That's usually how it happens. But anyways, that's going to be it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Have a great day, everyone. Again, if you want to use any of those links, check them out. And that's going to be it for the video. Have a great day. See you guys.